I found a handwritten letter inside a used book that changed my entire career path. It was addressed to the person who finds this. I hope you are not as lost as I was. The book was a dog-eared copy of The Elements of Sefer I'd bought for $1 at a neighborhood yard sale. I was 28, working a soul-crushing corporate job and trying to convince myself that the constant anxiety knot in my stomach was normal for adulthood. The letter fell out as I flipped through the pages that first night, 3 pages written in careful cursive on yellow legal paper. It began simply, "I am writing this on my last day at Johnson & Murray Advertising. After 22 years of creating campaigns that convinced people they needed things they didn't, I am walking away. If you are reading this, I hope you are braver than I was." The writer, who signed only as Ida Pym, described how they'd spent decades ignoring their creative instinct to write fiction, always promising themselves someday. How they'd woken up at 47, realizing they'd spent their life selling other people's ideas instead of creating their own. "I am not writing this for sympathy," the letter continued. "I am writing because when I was younger I needed someone to tell me that security isn't worth the slow death of your spirit, that the responsible choice isn't always the right one." The final paragraph hit me like a physical blow. Today I am 58 years old. I've finally written the novel that's been in my head for 30 years. It will probably never be published. But for the first time since I was a child, I feel alive again. Don't wait until you are me to remember what makes you feel alive. I stayed up all night, the letter spread on my coffee table, something breaking open inside me. I'd been writing poetry since childhood but had tucked it away as impractical when I took my finance job after college. The next morning I called in sick. Then I applied to a local community college's creative writing program. 6 months later I quit my job for a part-time position at a bookstore that paid less than half my corporate salary, but gave me time to write 3 years later. My first collection of poetry was published by a small press. It wasn't much, a print run of 500 copies, but holding that book felt more significant than any promotion I'd ever received. Last month I was invited to teach a writing workshop at a retirement community. As I set up my materials, an elderly man approached, curious about my book displayed on the table. "I used to work in advertising," he mentioned casually. "Always wanted to write something real." My heart stopped. "Did you ever work at Johnson & Murray?" I asked. He looked surprised. "For 22 years. How did you know?" "I keep the letter in a frame above my desk now. Sometimes when I am struggling with a manuscript or doubting my choices, I read it again." I never told him I found it. Some messages aren't meant to be acknowledged, just passed forward. Sometimes the most important voices in our lives come from strangers we'll never meet, who leave breadcrumbs for us to follow toward the people we're meant to become. And sometimes a $1 used book contains the permission slip you've been waiting for your entire life.